Hi guys, it's MTG here, and today I'm going to be comparing the cameras found on the Google Pixel 2 XL and the iPhone 10. They are inarguably two of the best cameras that you can find on a smartphone to date, so I wanted to see how they compare head to head. I'll be comparing them in different lighting conditions, and I'll also take a look at their videos. Everything was set to automatic. Let's get right into it. Looking at the camera specs, the iPhone 10 has a dual 12-megapixel system with a wide-angle and telephoto lens at f1.8 and f2.4 apertures respectively. The telephoto lens allows the 10 to have 2 times optical zoom and take depth-of-field portrait pictures. The cameras can record up to 4K at 60 frames per second and 1080p at up to 240 frames per second. They have dual optical image stabilization. The 10's front true depth camera is 7 megapixels with an aperture of f2.2. It can also take portrait mode pictures and can record video at up to 1080p at 30 frames per second. The Pixel 2 XL, on the other hand, has a single 12.2 megapixel sensor with an aperture of f1.8. Using Google's image processing and machine learning, it can also achieve portrait-style pictures on both the front and back cameras. The camera can record up to 4K at 30 frames per second and 1080p at up to 120 frames per second. It has both optical and electronic image stabilization. The Pixel 2 XL's front camera is 8 megapixels with an aperture of f2.4. It can record video at up to 1080p at 30 frames per second. Right off the bat, I wanted to show that both phones have phenomenal cameras. In this shot, both phones handle direct sunlight very well. Both cameras have a lot of detail, and both cameras maintain colors well. This picture shows how great the iPhone X's HDR is. The blues in the water and the sky are maintained in the iPhone X's shot, whereas the Pixel 2 XL shot looks washed out in comparison. Also, the iPhone X has a second telephoto lens that will allow it to zoom in closer to the subject. This image again shows how great the iPhone X's HDR is when it works, but we'll see in some other pictures that this isn't always the case. There seems to be a trend in a lot of these pictures I took that the Pixel 2 XL's pictures have a cooler tint, whereas the iPhone X has a warmer tint. The Pixel 2 XL seems to deal with differences in light better, leading to its ability to capture details in the sky better in some shots where there was lots of sunlight. Some shots looked so similar that it was difficult to even distinguish between the two. Then, these images show that again the Pixel 2 XL handles light a lot better than the iPhone X. The details in the table are preserved better, and the green in the lamps themselves are preserved better on the Pixel 2 XL shot. Also, if you look at the windows, you'll see a drastic difference there as well. In good lighting, both phones took solid portrait mode pictures, but the Pixel 2 XL was able to pick up the blues in the skies behind me, and was also able to pick up more detail on my face. The dual cameras on the iPhone X did a better job of differentiating between the foreground and background, which is noticeable in the color of my jacket. Looking at the front camera portrait modes of both phones, the iPhone X messed up with my hair, and although the Pixel 2 XL didn't get the edges completely perfect, it did an overall better job at blurring the background and picking up details on my face. In a different selfie without portrait mode, we can see that Google does tend to sacrifice color accuracy for detail. The color of the sky is clear in the Pixel 2 XL shot, but the iPhone X was able to capture my skin tone more accurately. When looking at pictures shot in low light, you can see how much the Pixel 2 XL relies on post-processing in their night shots. The iPhone X shot is by far the more realistic of the two, and it still was able to pick up a lot of detail and was surprisingly even better at controlling the noise in the image. In this night shot, the Pixel 2 XL was able to pick up the words "no more" in the city map sign. But again, it was very dark outside, and the Pixel 2 over-brightened areas that didn't need to be brightened, like the sky. The iPhone X was able to pick up similar levels of detail without overcompensating in the dark. This image actually came out really good on both phones, but if you look at the details in the window and where the lights hit the building, you can see how the Pixel 2 XL handled differences in lighting better. The Pixel 2 XL showed just how good its image processing could be when I tested the portrait modes of both phones without flash. You can barely see my face in the iPhone X shot. Using the flashes of both phones, the Pixel 2 XL shot still came out pretty good. Since this entire video was shot in 4K at 30 frames per second, I set both phones to 4K at 30 frames per second. But note that the iPhone X can shoot 4K at 60 frames per second. When looking at video, the Pixel 2 XL does handle the sky better, and the stabilization takes care of my walking. But it seems to overcompensate and stabilize too much, making a video that looks choppy in panning instances. The iPhone X's video also shows some choppiness in panning that could very well be eliminated in 60 frames per second, but I think it overall captured the scene better with far more accurate colors of the buildings. Now I'm testing the front video quality of both phones. It's starting to get dark outside, so I wonder how the cameras pick up in low light, and I'm also moving, so I wonder how the video stabilization turns out. Now I'm testing the front video quality of both phones. It's starting to get dark outside, so I wonder how the cameras pick up in low light, and I'm also moving, so I wonder how the video stabilization turns out. Looking at the front camera videos, the Pixel 2 XL was able to pick up more of the colors in the sky, but seemed to wash out the colors on my face. Also, the video on the iPhone X just seems smoother. The audio is night and day. The iPhone X picked up my voice just fine and does a decent job with noise, whereas the Pixel 2 XL tries to use software to eliminate background noise, making everything sound very tinny. In general, both these phones have great cameras. The Pixel 2 XL is still the best camera in terms of portrait mode pictures, but although the image processing is really great, it can tend to overcompensate in some shots, making the image look unnatural. If you like portrait mode pictures and if you like a cooler tint, you may prefer the Pixel 2 XL's camera. But if you like a more natural look and utilize 2x optical zoom, you may like the iPhone X's camera better. Let me know in the comment section which camera you prefer, and stay tuned for tomorrow when I post a Note 8 versus iPhone X camera comparison. If you like this video, please give this video a thumbs up. I'm working on a ton of new content right now, so make sure to click the logo down below to subscribe, and have the notification bell clicked to stay up to date on my latest videos. Check the description for links to my social media accounts, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.